So I'll show you what I've got set up so far and how it works. So really the configurations come down to two files. We'll first talk about GitPod and then GitLab CI. So um, in here, basically, you just list a set of tasks in a YAML file. Um, you can chain commands with this pipe method. And so it'll do each one of these. The first section, basically, this first setup here is just installing and restoring Pocketbase. So I go pull a release of Pocketbase down that matches the version of my Pockethost instance. I unzip that into Pocketbase. I then make my script s3 git, which is a little bash script executable. And then I run that script using this s3 git function, passing in my bucket name and the zip file um, of my latest backup. And I basically pull that down to a file called zip. I then unzip that into PB data. And then this is a GitPod command that basically says I'm done with this task, whatever this name is. So in this case, it's install PB. Um, you can have things that await, like down here, await install PP. So the next line won't be executed until this sync done is reported. So that's how you can keep things kind of sequential, especially if things depend on others. So and this is one terminal running through this set of commands. This is another terminal running through npm install, using Tailwind to use the CSS file and generate the app CSS and pages. And then then it says it's done with Tailwind. And then I have it do npm run dev CSS. So these commands can be long running, they can be persistent. There's also an init function that can be run that's just to initialize a terminal. Um, I tend to just put the stuff in commands and then just chain it just to make it a little bit more simple. There is some benefit to inits and some other things, like if you cache the instance, for example, or there's some like caching capabilities anyway. Okay, and then at the end, I'm running Pocketbase with Pocketpages, so I just basically make sure it's installed and the Tailwind has generated a CSS file, and then npm run dev Pocketbase, and that runs that script. And then down below here, I'm basically just saying, hey, if you see port 8090 open up for the Pocketbase server, go ahead and open up a new browser tab. And so that'll pop open the preview of the website. So that's it for GitPod. That's pretty straightforward, and I'll use that here in a minute. For GitLab CI/CD, and I haven't set this to only be on the main branch, but that's actually an additional setting that I want to make here, that it's only going to do this deployment um, if it's on main. So that way, maybe um, I don't want to build like temporary sites or anything like that on merge. I could probably do something like that, but right now I can't think of a way to do that with Pocketpages without spinning up like new instances or temporary instances in Pockethost, and I don't really want to go down that route. Maybe you have an idea for that, but I don't know. Um, so anyway, uh, this will only happen when we merge to main. The nice thing is that uh, GitPod will actually create temporary servers. So anytime I want to take a look at what main looks like or what a branch looks like, I can just launch from that branch context, and I can take a look at the site. So you can kind of just do it that way instead of having a persistent deployed sort of preview site for the merge request. So anyway, this does the npm install in the GitLab CI environment. I just go ahead and make sure I have the latest npm first. I'm using the node latest image, and then I go through this basically single deploy step. And then first thing is just installing packages, and then I upload with FTP. So I made a new um, script here, deploy script, where I'm using FTP deploy that I saw in a GitHub action reference. And then I just have a few environment variables like host, username, password, and then where I want the files from my hooks to get synced to for the pages. And then there's just a few of these, and then that. So that's it. on that part. And so this is how it works. If I want to take a look at this site, it's going to go through the operations. So I just go in here and click GitPod. It starts preparing my workspace, the ephemeral workspace. And you can see it's kind of in the context of whatever branch you're in. So if I had a working branch, I could launch from the branch and it would launch this environment in the context of the branch. And all commits and pushes I do back would be to the branch instead of to main. But since I've launched in um, main, then I have this situation. So here it is, kind of spinning up the server. You can see here there's a few different terminals. So this was the kind of first terminal that does like getting Pocketbase and unzipping it and everything. So you can see that all happen here, and it inflates everything. Here's the one doing the Tailwind stuff, and it's kind of running in the background. And then I have another terminal here that's running Pocketbase in the dev mode, and you can see that it opened up over here. And if I look here, that's welcome to go in this market. So now if I pop this out, I have that preview here at this preview URL. If I'm working with somebody else, I could share this and actually make this public by clicking this unlock, and then anybody could see the site as I'm working on it um, with that right there, with that URL. And so now if I were to come in here, and let's say I go to like hooks, pages, let's go to the index, and then I put a little exclamation at the end of market, save, and then refresh, and you'll see I have that. Now this is where I wanted that live reload. So if I make a change here to this file, it automatically triggers a reload over here. So I'll probably still try to figure that out and get something working on the site, maybe only in dev mode or something. I have to figure that part out. But it works well enough just to hit F5 or whatever and refresh the page you're on while you're working. And so I could do Glemis Island. Let me Glemis Island Market, and then save, reload, and I get that over here. So everything else works, where the URLs are correct and everything. If I go to about, and you can see that's working here, I'll put a /about, and then and go to Silent Washington, USA, produce. Yeah, so about the market, save, and reload, and you can see it here. So I have styling to do. I mean, this is just getting a development environment. Now that I made some changes, I'll go ahead and push these changes to main. So I'll commit and sync. Those go to main. And now I'm done with this workspace. I can close this. I can shut down the workspace, go back to here and reload, and you can see, that WIP commit is here and those changes have been made here. So now comes the sort of other part that I did, which is if you take a look at the pipelines here, now the CI/CD kicked off, and you can see it running over here. And right now it looks like it takes about 40 seconds to 40 to 50 seconds to spin up. And so, I mean, to deploy, I should say, less than a minute usually to deploy. And most of that's just kind of spinning up the Docker executor, this node latest. So that's you could spin up any image you want, especially like if they're in a Docker registry or anything. You can just say the name of the image you want from the registry, and it'll pull it down and use that. So there we go. That's the scripts running. It npm installs, it uploads it, it runs that deploy, runs that function. You can see these are still masked. They're not showing in the log. And then, it does some stuff. It replaced some pages. It kept the other stuff the same. And sync complete, job succeeded. And now if I go to, oh, that's our, I want Glemis Market. And, oh, come on, back up. You can see here it's loaded, and there's that exclamation. And if I go to about, it's deployed. So I don't need to run the deploy command. I could run it within that workspace if I wanted to do the deployment from there. But this way, whenever I'm done and I commit, I can see that rebuild. Um, so there you go. That's what I got going so far. Seems to be a little closer to the kind of DevOps workflow I'm used to. So that's nice.